In 1967, amidst the Vietnam War, a young linguist named Noam Chomsky penned a searing critique that would reverberate for decades. The Responsibility of Intellectuals, published in was more than just an essay. It was a call to arms. Chomsky argued that intellectuals, often shielded by privilege, bear a moral obligation to challenge power structures and expose injustice. He was appalled by the Vietnam War, which he saw as American imperialism, and by the complicity of intellectuals in justifying the war. He argued that intellectuals have a responsibility to use their platforms to challenge the status quo, especially when their own governments are engaged in wrongdoing. This call to action resonated deeply with a generation disillusioned by war and social injustice. Chomsky's essay became a touchstone for activists and academics alike, inspiring a generation to question authority and hold power accountable. His words continue to resonate today, reminding us that the pursuit of truth and justice requires constant vigilance. Chomsky's argument, however, was not without its critics. Nevertheless, his essay sparked a vital debate about the role of intellectuals in society, a debate that continues to this day. Central to Chomsky's argument in The Responsibility of Intellectuals was a scathing critique of the media's role in perpetuating state propaganda. He argued that, far from serving as a check on power, the media often acted as a mouthpiece for the government, uncritically echoing official narratives. Chomsky pointed to the Vietnam War as a prime example of this phenomenon. He argued that the media had failed to challenge the Johnson administration's justifications for the war, instead presenting a sanitized and misleading picture. This critique of the media resonated deeply with many who felt that the media was failing in its duty to inform the public. Chomsky's work helped to spark a broader movement for media criticism and reform, as activists and academics began to examine the ways in which media institutions could be made more accountable. His insights into the role of the media in shaping public opinion continue to be influential today as we grapple with misinformation and propaganda. Over 5 decades since Chomsky first published The Responsibility of Intellectuals, his critique of the media remains as relevant as ever. Despite the proliferation of news sources and the rise of social media, Chomsky argues that the media's tendency to echo state propaganda and marginalize dissent remains largely unchanged. He points to the coverage of contemporary conflicts, such as the ongoing war in Yemen or the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, as evidence of this ongoing problem. Chomsky argues that the media continues to uncritically repeat government talking points, often framing complex geopolitical issues in simplistic and misleading ways. This, he argues, serves to legitimize state violence and silence alternative perspectives. Chomsky's critique of the media is not limited to its coverage of foreign policy. He also points to the media's role in perpetuating economic inequality, racial injustice, and environmental destruction. This unwavering critique of the media has made Chomsky a controversial figure, but it has also inspired generations of journalists and media critics to challenge the status quo. Noam Chomsky's unwavering criticism of U.S. foreign policy, particularly its role in the Middle East, has been a defining feature of his intellectual legacy. He argues that U.S. policy in the region has been driven by a desire to maintain its hegemony, often at the expense of human rights and self-determination. Chomsky is particularly critical of U.S. support for Israel, which he sees as a key obstacle to peace between Israelis and Palestinians. He argues that the U.S. has consistently provided Israel with diplomatic cover and military aid, enabling its occupation of Palestinian territories and its blockade of Gaza. This unwavering support, Chomsky argues, has made the U.S. complicit in Israel's human rights violations. His views on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict have made him a target of fierce criticism, with some accusing him of being anti-Israel or even anti-Semitic. Chomsky denies these accusations, arguing that his criticism is rooted in a commitment to universal human rights. Chomsky's analysis of U.S. foreign policy extends beyond the Middle East. He has been a vocal critic of U.S. interventions in Latin America, Southeast Asia, and elsewhere, arguing that they have often been counterproductive and have resulted in widespread suffering. His work has helped to shed light on the human cost of U.S. foreign policy, and has inspired a generation of activists and scholars to challenge the dominant narratives surrounding American power. Chomsky's critique of U.S. foreign policy is not limited to its military interventions. He also examines the economic dimensions of American power, arguing that U.S. trade policies and economic interventions have often served to entrench inequality and undermine local economies. Chomsky's work has been instrumental in highlighting the interconnectedness of global struggles for justice and the ways in which U.S. policies impact people around the world. His analysis encourages us to think critically about the broader implications of American power and to consider the ways in which we can work towards a more just and equitable global order. Chomsky's enduring commitment to social justice and his willingness to speak out against powerful interests continue to inspire and challenge us to this day. 50 years after its initial publication, Chomsky's The Responsibility of Intellectuals remained strikingly relevant, prompting a conference at University College London in 2017 to revisit its themes. This gathering brought together leading academics, journalists, and activists to discuss the essay's enduring legacy and its implications for the 21st century. The conference explored a range of contemporary issues, including the rise of populism, the refugee crisis, climate change, and the erosion of democratic norms. Participants debated the role of intellectuals in addressing these challenges, considering how best to hold power accountable, challenge injustice, and promote social change. The conference resulted in a book published by UCL Press. The book, freely available online, features contributions from Chomsky himself, as well as from other leading thinkers who engage with his ideas and apply them to contemporary issues. The 2017 conference and subsequent book serve as a testament to the enduring power of Chomsky's ideas. Chomsky has consistently emphasized the potential for public pressure to influence policy change, even within seemingly intractable geopolitical situations. He argues that while governments and powerful institutions often resist change, they are not immune to public opinion. He points to historical examples, such as the anti-Vietnam War movement and the struggle for civil rights, as evidence of the power of public pressure to shift the political landscape. In both cases, sustained activism and public outcry forced those in power to reconsider their positions and ultimately led to significant policy changes. Chomsky argues that a similar dynamic is at play today in relation to issues such as climate change and economic inequality. He points to the growing global movements demanding action on these issues as evidence of a shifting public consciousness. Chomsky's emphasis on the power of public pressure serves as a call to action, reminding us that ordinary people have the power to shape the world around them. Chomsky's views on boycotts as a tool for social change are complex and nuanced. While he acknowledges their potential effectiveness in certain situations, he also expresses reservations about their application and potential unintended consequences. Chomsky has voiced support for targeted boycotts aimed at pressuring specific entities to change their behavior. For example, he has advocated for boycotting companies that profit from the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories, arguing that this can be an effective way to exert economic pressure and raise awareness about the issue. However, he has also expressed reservations about broader academic boycotts, such as those targeting Israeli universities. While he understands the motivations behind such boycotts, he argues that they can be counterproductive, potentially isolating academics and limiting opportunities for dialogue and collaboration. Chomsky's nuanced stance on boycotts reflects his broader commitment to strategic activism. While best known for his political activism and social criticism, Noam Chomsky's initial renown stemmed from his groundbreaking work in linguistics. His theories revolutionized the field, challenging prevailing assumptions about language acquisition and fundamentally altering our understanding of how language works. At the heart of Chomsky's linguistic theories lies the concept of universal grammar. Chomsky argues that all humans are born with an innate capacity for language, a hardwired set of grammatical rules that enable us to learn and understand language. This innate ability, he argues, explains the remarkable speed and ease with which children acquire language, despite the often limited and imperfect nature of the linguistic input they receive. Chomsky's theories have been both highly influential and controversial. Despite the ongoing debates, Chomsky's impact on the field of linguistics is undeniable. Noam Chomsky's legacy is one of relentless dissent, unwavering commitment to social justice, and profound intellectual inquiry. For over 6 decades, he has challenged power structures, exposed injustice, and inspired generations to think critically about the world around them. His 1967 essay, The Responsibility of Intellectuals, remains a seminal work, a timeless call to action for those who seek to use their knowledge and influence to create a more just and equitable world. His critiques of U.S. foreign policy, the media, and other powerful institutions have sparked debate, provoked outrage, and most importantly, compelled us to confront uncomfortable truths. Chomsky's impact extends beyond his political activism. His pioneering work in linguistics revolutionized the field, offering profound insights into the nature of language and human cognition. Today, as we navigate a world grappling with complex challenges, Chomsky's voice remains as vital as ever.